Vortex. I got my coffee. I got my Bible. I got my little aflac duck. Okay. I don't know why I haven't been carrying him around. But we have remedied the situation. And now he is with us. Okay? So I took a walk to my little local coffee shop. And now I'm here at the park up the street from my house. And I thought that I would read you a psalm that really echoes my sentiment towards the world and illustrates the vindication that I experience every single time I read the Bible, okay? One of the reasons why I'm such a strong Christian and such a believer in general is because I know how bad the world is. And yes, I think that I internalize that. And this channel is all about externalizing things that I've been internalizing, okay? So, it should be noted that a lot of it is going to be angry and bitter. It was really hot, okay? Yeah, a lot of it's going to be angry and bitter and indignant and seemingly self-righteous. Because when you see things that most people ignore, it makes you mad, you know? And people ignore these things because they don't think that they can do anything about them, so they just say, oh, well, it's fine that this is going on. I'm not going to think about it. Now, I have a completely different view. So, when I read something really horrible that I can only assume nobody else is going to read but me, and that might be a little arrogant, but it is for the most part true because a lot of people don't want to read stuff that makes them feel like shit and cry for days. So, I can understand. It's funny how people are like protective over their mental health in regards to things like that. You know, like seeing something that makes them upset or like reading something that makes them realize like an ugly truth about the world that they live in. So it's like they're protecting themselves from that, but they're not going to protect themselves from like other harmful things, you know, like what they do every day that's like rotting their brain. But let's not go into another technology rant. This is from Psalm 12, according to I think both the King James and the NIV version, but for me it's Psalm 11 because they combined Psalms 9 and 10 and the, what is it called? I can't pronounce it. Septuagint? I don't know. It's probably Latin. I can only assume it's Latin. But anyway, so Psalm 11 / Psalm 12 for most people that read another version of the Bible, which is just semantics. If it's the same message, it's the same message. We need to stop worrying about you know, little things that are petty and insignificant. Okay, so I'm also going to read you the notes, the little liner notes of this psalm. So this is For the End, Concerning the Eighth, a psalm by David. Save me, O Lord, for the holy man has ceased. The truthful are diminished from among the sons of men. Each one speaks useless things to his neighbor. Deceptive lips speak with a double heart. May the Lord destroy all deceptive lips and the tongue that speaks boastful things, saying, we will make our tongue powerful. Our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? Because of the suffering of the needy and because of the groaning of the poor, now I will arise, says the Lord. I will establish them in salvation. I will declare it boldly. The words of the Lord are pure words, like silver fired in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. You shall guard us, O Lord. You shall preserve us from this generation forever. The ungodly walk in a circle. In your exaltation, you highly exalted the sons of men. Now, hear the little notes. Psalm 11 presents a contrast between the godly who live in light of Christ and the eighth day, that is, the coming of Christ, the resurrection from the dead and the life of the world to come, and the ungodly who walk in a circle, that is, who live only within the confined vision of their 7 days each week. And as the godly journey through this present world, they pray for deliverance from the ungodliness around them. They ask the Lord to destroy the ungodly... Okay, wait, I messed up. Okay. And as the godly journey through this present world, they pray for deliverance from the ungodliness around them. They ask the Lord to destroy the ungodly attitudes and behavior around them. And they groan to the Lord in the midst of their suffering. And because of their prayers and groaning in this way, the Lord, through his resurrection, boldly establishes them in salvation, purifies them in virtue with his words, guards and preserves them from the ungodly generation through his ascension, highly exalts his godly ones. So, I don't know if that brings you any hope, gloom, or doom. It brings me a lot of hope. And I guess that just kind of proves that, like, mental illness is, like, the reason why people like me would seek out a religion is because, like, I think that we would get more out of it than a regular townsperson. And I think that that's where, like, the anger and the bitterness comes in. Because, like, I want everybody to have this. I want everybody to know that this option is available for them. But I feel like they're not as likely to seek it or understand it because they're not on their knees for it. And like I've said, I didn't choose to be here. Nobody chose to be here. Nobody voluntarily signed up for this shit, okay? So we just kind of have to take it as it comes. And I feel like I've done pretty well considering. But I know that there are definitely areas that are problem areas that have room for improvement. But, like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I notice about the world and about the world's inhabitants that just plumb pisses me all the way off. And it annoys me. It makes me rage, really. At best, it's annoying. At worst, it's wrath, okay? And I internalize that. And the reason why I internalize that is because I don't want to be one of these people that throws a milkshake every day. You know? In case you missed that video, I totally threw a milkshake at my job. I didn't throw it at anybody. I threw it at the grease trap. And ice cream got all over the floor. But I usually don't do shit like that anymore. But it's like, there are just so many things that, like, fucking anger me. And I don't think that I'm wrong for being angry about those things. But at the same time, I don't want to just live in that and be really bitter. But, you know, whatever you're seeing in relation to that, like I've said, I don't want to film when I'm happy. I'd rather just not be filming anything. I'd rather just bask in the glory of you know, that moment. And so it's just weird to me that, you know, people, this is the problem with the internet. And this is the problem with pictures, is that, like, you can just look at a picture, you could look at a video of something, or you could look at a post that somebody puts on Facebook or Twitter or something, and just assume that you know that person's entire perspective. You know that person's entire existence. Like, you can make these bold assumptions about that person based off of that. Now, the stuff that I say about people is stuff that I pay attention to. Like, I pay attention to the pathology of certain people. And if they continue to exhibit traits of a particular personality disorder, like, yeah, I'm going to call that shit out because I don't think other people know. And it would greatly help them if they did. So, not only would they not pay attention to these people, the way that they want, you know? Hold on, I'm gonna restore that. It works. Damn it! Just hold the camera. Why is that so hard? I don't know. I just don't feel like it. Well, anyway. Sorry, I rudely interrupted this video with my annoyance. I'm gonna put my hair up in there. Hopefully I don't look like George Washington again. I do that a lot where I put my hair up and it just like, it has this like poofiness that comes out of the hat. Reminds me of George Washington. But, yeah, so people get fucked over by other people all the time. People fuck themselves over all the time. I do it. Still. Just because I'm sober. And just because, you know, I quit smoking cigarettes, obviously. Still craving them. Just because I have a full-time job. And just because it seems like things are taken care of in a lot of ways. It's like I still have meltdowns and I still, you know, get really mad about a lot of stuff. And, but, you know, I just don't want to, like, hurt other people. I don't want to say things that hurt people. And I guess that's why, like, I don't want to use social media. So it's like, if I can just vent and, like, that's an art. And I know that I'm a fucking comedian. Nobody has to confirm that. Like, just the way that I think. And it is very narcissistic. But I think that it is like that because of, like, the amount of things that we can perceive that we look at society like, you know, you have all this technology that you could use to better yourself, and you're dumber. You're dumber and you're more useless when you could use this to improve. But it capitalizes on our inability to want to work on ourselves. You know, it capitalizes on our insecurity. It capitalizes on our need to fit in and our need to have everybody's still approval, you know? And because of that, you know, like, I can see that because I would be affected by that. Like, I would be cognizant of that way more so than the average person, because I'm cognizant of way more anyway. So that's why I just sort of have a leg up when it comes to technology, and I don't want to have anything to do with a lot of the things that people do on a regular basis that they don't see any problem with, even though there's record amounts of evidence that strongly suggest that it's really terrible for everyone. And I can't help but notice that these studies, very similar to any article that talks about the dangers of seatbelts, they all do the same thing, where they have to give you propaganda first. They have to introduce it with, social media can be a good thing, but most of the time it's not. Seatbelts save lives, but sometimes they kill people. That's the thing. Like that's so feminine. It's like you're covering your tracks so that nobody can call you names. Nobody can say you're a conspiracy theorist. Nobody can say that you're a rule breaker. Nobody can say that you're a challenger of the status quo and the system and all that. That's what that's really about. I mean, if something is good, you don't have to make excuses for it before you talk about what's bad about it, you know? And that's what people do for women all the time. And there are plenty of good women out there, but they're not the ones that are making a name for themselves, you know? But I don't know. I don't want to, like, put myself on this pedestal. Because, you I don't do these things, or I'm aware of those things. There's always plenty of room to improve, like I've said. I repeat myself all the time. I complain about people repeating themselves, and it's like, yo, what am I doing, right? But I'm repeating different things. So that's the thing. What you're witnessing right now, in regards to this banter with these voices, okay, it's all the same thing. But it's just, I think that the voices have proven that there's more good in me than bad. Because the demon part of me is the part that agrees with everything I say. But the man in my head that you hear so very often always provides constructive criticism. He doesn't beat me up, though. Like, the same voice that compliments me and tells me I'm so fucking funny and brilliant and all this other stuff that is true, but it's like, shut the fuck up, Amy. It's like, that part of me, it used to be the part of me that was like, you suck, you're terrible, you should just kill yourself, So, what I think a lot of the drugs are doing, like the bad drugs, and even good drugs, like, marijuana, like, if you use it wrong, the same thing can happen, I think. It just happens in a different way, where, like, you listen to certain voices that tell you to isolate, or you listen to certain voices that tell you to do something really bad that's not going to, like, it at the moment it might seem like a good solution, but overall it's probably not going to be beneficial for you. Like me trying to please people just like by shaving, or me trying to please people by getting insurance that gives me an anxiety attack. It doesn't insure anything other than anxiety. Me, wearing my seatbelt. It's just stuff that doesn't come naturally to me that I try to force. And then I get mad at myself because I'm trying to be like everybody else. And that's why I get really defensive to the extent that I become offensive. And I realize it's coming, it's the same play. It's the same play because it's coming from the same place. You notice that people that are either on defense or offense in a football game, they're still wearing the same gear and the same helmets. It's just they have different positions, but they're still fighting for the same team, Just came up with that metaphor. You should recognize the brilliance that God has given me. But it's like, I know that whenever I'm with people, I just go insane. And so if people think, well, you're in a prison or whatever, like you are putting yourself in a prison, like a mental prison. No, I'm not. Because God and art are the way out of that. The way out is not to do what everybody else does and be like everybody else and have a relationship and a circle of friends and all that shit. I mean, though that might be nice, and that works for a lot of people, and I'm glad that it works. I want people to socialize. I want people to have meaningful relationships and amazing sex and beautiful children that they actually raise. I want that for people. And I see that happening at my church. That's the only place where I see it happening. So, it's not that I don't think it's possible. It's just, if you're not in for the long haul, and more than likely, you don't understand why that's important. Like, people that have a strong foundation in God know the importance of, human connection and sexual intercourse and communication, man. People don't know how to communicate. They don't want to communicate. That's why they choose social media. So they have terrible communication styles that evade a lot of actual responsibility. you know? So, I like being on the outside. It is lonely, but is it? Look at what we got. Look at all that. This is all ours. This is all ours. And this whole Bible, y'all. This whole Bible. Because I'm convinced that most people who call themselves Christians ain't reading it. So it's all ours.